and a half long dance party.
Oh, that's always fun.
She insisted that I ended work early so that we could dance to Baby Shark 170 times.
Baby Shark, I love that. That's amazing. We've got AJ here now. Hi, AJ. Hi, good evening.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us.
Me.
Yeah, so I'm Madeline, and Heather here is our executive director at Portland Fruit Tree Project. We also have Japhety on the call currently, who works at Happiness Family Farm. You work with Happiness Family Farm, is that true? Yeah, so have you two met before?
We have. Yep, I'm a big fan. Yep, and I owe you a photo. It just I haven't forgotten.
I thought you forgotten, but I guess not.
I have not forgotten. It stays on my list. It's with the holidays, we were gonna have some IRPC do some printing for us, and then things got a little like wonky and behind, and now it feels like perpetual. But it's still, I have not forgotten. It's
That's good. I'm patient. Good things come to those who wait.
Yes. Yeah.
Good perspective there. Well, AJ, we were just saying we're going to kind of let people stroll in, but we might have a smaller attendance just because of partly because of all the power outages. Did you get affected by the power at your house, or?
At my house, no. I really was lucky. We haven't been negatively impacted that way, but our warehouse, it's not really a warehouse, it's an event space, luckily it was caught, so it wasn't too bad, but we had a pipe that I'm sure froze and unfroze, and so we have no hot water at our warehouse space now.
Yeah.
That's okay. No one's taking showers or anything, and we're not cooking there right now, so it's fine.
Yeah. I was talking to someone who's in Texas, in Austin right now, and she was telling me that they're under a boil. I don't know what it would be called, but
a boil order.
Boil order, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hitting everyone. And then, hi, Valentine.
Valentine.
Hi,
how
Valentine?
you doing?
Okay, it's Valentine.
It's all good. How are you doing?
How are you? Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just get another day of work.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. I'm Madeline, and I'm the one who's been emailing you from Portland Fruit Tree Project, and we have Heather here on the line or on the Zoom, who's the executive director at Portland Fruit Tree Project. I'm not sure if Heather.
I think we met a
yeah.
couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice to see you again, Heather.
Nice to see you as well.
How are you holding up with this kind of winter?
I mean, the weekend sucked because I live downtown, and like they just snow plowed a bunch of snow, like almost covering my car and burying my car. So for about 3 days, my car was thawing out. But Tuesday I was able to get out, and then I came to the office and kind of find out there's no electricity in the entire building, and the building failed to let anybody know. So everything that was in my fridge almost went bad. So that was not fun.
I hear you say almost, though.
There's a few things that went bad, some fruit that went bad, but everything in the freezer was fine. I just had to literally take it out, put some ice on it, and then run it back home. Mm-hmm. And then feed the mouse. We only went out of power for about, I think, only 6 hours this weekend, and they got the power back on. Everything was good, and the only day we were completely off was on Monday, so it was not too bad.
Yeah, sounds like you're making do. Yeah, it's something that I definitely wanted to touch on in today, or at least think about. That's even more prominent with this current storm is like how businesses or just organizations like y'all are using your resources or mutual aid or each other to sort of survive everything that's been coming at you.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, it's been a little bit kind of crazy, but I mean, if you put enough systems in place, you're able to kind of, I guess, get through it.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. Well, we'll give it a couple short minutes, but I was just, yeah, like I've let y'all know, I'm gonna have you all speak for, about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, we want to be respectful that this is just an hour, and try to end it on time. And so I'll give you 10 to 15 to just talk about your organization, what your goals and your mission are, and how you've been adapting, or how you came out of COVID and the pandemic, and what you would like to share about that, and then also like ways that we can support these organizations. All of you are amazing organizations that have been doing so much for the city, for the community, and for food justice and for social justice, and wanting to highlight BIPOC organizations as well, and do what we can to lift those voices. Also, for myself, like, curious, just what is your why? Like, why are we doing this, again, with that goal and mission in mind? And then like, what does the future look like for your organization, and for how you'd like to see Portland fight against hunger and social justice? So yeah, I will have AJ speak first, and for participants, and I'll let people know as they enter, like, just asking questions through, after you give your spiel, we'll just open it up for some questions, and pretty open format. Like, if there are burning questions throughout, feel free to unmute and ask them, because I want everybody to be able to really get what they can from this happy hour and learn about these organizations. So yeah, AJ, are you cool going first?
Yeah. Hey. So I'm AJ McCreary. I'm one of the co-founders, and I am the executive director at Equitable Giving Circle. We launched last spring. We're about to hit 1 year. We came together a little bit before last March, and we were organizing to help create some economic impact for Black and brown businesses in Portland. And then COVID happened, and we were like, we're going to do a CSA program and buy some CSAs from some Black and brown farmers and give them to, BIPOC families. And that we'll just do this little thing during COVID. And that grew really, really fast into a really big thing. All through like the beginning of this, people were like, it's impossible, you can't do it. And we were like, oh, okay. And we did it. We are now feeding 525 families every single week, the same families, with food that we buy from Black and brown farmers. Happiness Family Farm is one of the farms that we get to work with. And so our work is twofold. We are intentionally supporting, BIPOC families with really healthy, beautiful, high quality, nutritious food. We also do a monthly protein drops for the families. And our culture is specific. So if it's a family that, has halal dietary restrictions, or is kosher, or many of the indigenous families we work with only eat, fish, we give them those specific products. Because a lot of food programs aren't mindful of that, and it's very disrespectful and wasteful. So since we started, we started with this little idea of 50 families, and now and we were just going to do it through the summer, and now we're trying to get permanent funding and permanent infrastructure in place so that we can do this ongoing. We're wanting to grow. We are ready to scale. So hopefully we will be laying out some funding stuff in the next couple weeks and being able to scale again, because the need is there. We do direct delivery. So we came up with this idea. We wanted to do a way that addressed a lot of the issues around food boxes. So people that are oppressed and are experiencing financial insecurities and food insecurities often can't get to, sites to have food. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. And if it's a big, heavy box and they have, kids or school books or a physical disability that might make it hard for them to carry said box, they're not going to go pick it up or if they have to take the bus. And so that's why we intentionally wanted to have direct delivery. And during COVID, also helping mitigate families being outside, out and about is really important. So it's kind of a little bit about like our main work. We've rolled out some other programming since we've started. We did a housing initiative in November and December, and we got $197,000 out in housing support to 50 families, 50 BIPOC families in increments of 3 months of rent and mortgage relief. So these are families that are experiencing, COVID, financial loss, and job insecurities, and so that addressing housing for those folks is helpful in their long-term wellness and system, like just their own stability. We also have a plant jam that we do, so inspired by the underground plant trade. We are collecting and passing out plants. To date, we've passed out over 7,000 plants. We've also, our wellness work also has included PPE, so we've gotten over 10,000 units of PPE out into the community. We recently just finished our backpack initiative with Operation Back to School, and also got a huge donation from Hannah Anderson and got that out into the community. So we're trying to really layer our work with ongoing support and community care that hasn't happened in Portland. Not to say that there's not a lot of good work happening. It's just oftentimes the work is it's just not on large scales, and there's not, I think that like a lot of like food programs, particularly food boxes, are not intentional. They're not culture specific. They're not mindful of meeting people where they're at, and it's not high quality. I was at a food event in the fall around the fires, and the disconnect from some of the organizers to the families that were being served. They rolled up into a very heavily populated immigrant and Latinx community with spaghetti and peanut butter. These are families that would much preferred, rice, lentils, beans, cans of tomato, anything but what we brought. And the disconnect of like, oh, these people should be happy because it's something, was just so disrespectful. And so EGC, like, we really try to be mindful of that and really, show up for people in ways that we as a group would want for people to show up. And we're getting to help educate the community at large about this kind of work and engaging in a different way. I think a lot of times people have, white saviorism mentality that anything is enough and that people should be grateful. We don't feel that way at EGC, and we're trying to really make sure that our work shows that, and excited to help people to learn a different alternative. I think there's a lot of work that's happened in social justice work, in food justice work, that people have been afraid to keep it really real and say like, well, that's nice that you thought that, but like, we don't want that, or that's really not helpful, or that's ignorant. Like, what you're suggesting is ignorant. There's probably some food justice things right now happening in Portland that people are like, it seems a little ignorant. So there's a lot of, we're trying to be really mindful of that, and also like introduce this idea that people who are oppressed deserve the very best, right? Like, if you are oppressed and we're trying to give you a hand, but we're giving you scraps, that's not really helping you like feel better, see your situation better. And so we're excited to be helping not just our community experience better, but teaching people that there are a more mindful and better way to operate. It's also really interesting. It costs the same amount of money to do this kind of work with care and intention as to do it with lazy crap food that's expired and just not good quality. Like, the costs are really, really similar. And something that we have been really mindful at EGC, but we're starting to be, to explore a little bit more, is food waste. So our program keeps our waste about 2%. And I really want to even get that tighter. Trying to also like work with other community organizations and like food spaces in ways that we can start addressing food waste in a larger way, and just making pivots, right? EGC as a group, we were able to take systems that existed and made pivots so that they centered Black and Brown voices, and they centered Black and Brown economics, and they centered the Black and Brown community. We're not inventing anything new. We're just making very intentional pivots. And so wanting to like put some of that same kind of energy and spin in other places, particularly around food waste, because a lot of food is wasted in a lot of spaces. And we've been talking about that before Portland erupted into a national or global food waste conversation. So that's a little bit about what we're doing. We work with 17 Black and Brown farmers in the region and are actively hoping to grow that list as we scale. We are gearing up for our second year of service to the community. We have a monthly lunch and learn and a new monthly happy hour conversation that happens to give people an opportunity to learn along with us and to engage with us directly. Currently, we are collecting house plants and self-care items for our Black History Month plant and care package initiatives. We've gotten 143 out. The snow stopped us. We got another 160 plus going out over the next 2 weeks. And people can get involved with EGC by donating money. They can get involved by supporting our plant jam. We have a bunch of different new information on our website, asking people if they want us to come in and do speaking engagements like this, or if they, want to gather up money as a team. We've got a lot of new options around that. I'd say this next year, we are just really looking to deepen our impact in the community and continue to help teach Portland to be its best self. Yeah.
That's amazing. So do you have volunteers working with you, or is it mostly run by like your direct team? Or
so we have a leadership team of 11 that part of us are staff and part of us are our board of directors, and then our larger team consists of about 48 women and femmes. Most of us are from our original group of organizing and coming together. We are we've like done stuff to open up the circle and bring people in to volunteer. It's a really interesting dynamic, and we're still playing around with that. How that works, how that looks, because oftentimes people want to come in and do one little task, but that's like a big waste of time. I know that sounds, but it's like to stop and to train somebody for like 3 or 4 hours and then to never see them again is not sustainable. So we're actually continuously sort of talking through that and trying to navigate that. Right now with COVID too, like as a team, we're not even super involved interpersonally other than on Zoom calls and stuff. We try to be really mindful of moving our work in ways that we are not, expanding each other's COVID bubbles unnecessarily. So, I mean, that it's kind of tricky right now. I really hope that as we grow and also as COVID, gets better, that we can have volunteers in a different way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have other questions, but I want to let other people speak. Does anyone else have a question for AJ or thoughts? Well, one of my questions was sort of just, what it sounds like to me that you're doing is kind of, this idea of mutual aid, and even with thinking about how volunteers can almost be a hindrance. It's like we're seeing our infrastructures fail, right? So like the future of post-COVID, post-pandemic, continued pandemic, whatever it looks like, what is our best way to use each other and work, without the system to be able to get what we need, because it's proving that we can't get what we need, even with hunger. Like we can't get the food we need. It's not that it's not there. It's not that it's not available. It's just that it's not necessarily accessible or culturally, responsible, or there's no movement. And so like, how are we, I guess if you had one hot tip on like the thing you found most successful in navigating this, what would it be?
I think that's a really complicated question, because as much as I am a burn it down person, burn the system down, we also need to use that infrastructure or we will not actually survive. I really want to encourage all Portlanders to start getting involved in what's happening in the City Hall and what's happening with our legislation and our policy. We have different local branches of governance, both City Hall, how that works. We have different bureaus. We also have Metro. We also have things that happen with the county. And a lot of Portlanders, and we're seeing this right now with this large conversation that's, around spoiled food and people foraging for spoiled food. Food safety laws are real for a reason. Everyone should read the book, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. You'll then agree that food safety laws should be followed. That information is very relevant. I saw a chef nod his head. Yes, food safety is real. I think people need to get involved. We have a lot of people here in Portland that bark a lot, that talk a lot, and that they don't show up with their actions. And there are people that show up with their actions, and we need to start really putting our time and energy behind that. Like, this hysteria that is happening is mismanaged. Why are we currently hysterical about, something? Yes, we should be upset about food waste, but why aren't we really pressed about mitigating that at the starting point, right? Like, Portland as a place that really likes to whine and cry and talk after the fact, or give everyone else ideas like, oh, you should try this, or you could do this. But we are not a community that actually wants to stay and like get involved and do the work. That's why oftentimes you see the same faces doing major, like moving massive community work forward. It's the same people for years and years and years that show up. And so I would say really like more people getting up and getting involved in the actual movement of work, whether that is volunteering with your time or, giving up positions of privilege and power, sharing resources in significant ways. Portland's a place that likes to be like, I'm broke, but then hops on a plane to go to, I don't know, Taiwan for vacation, right? Like, that's the real story. I don't know broke people that go overseas on vacation. Like, broke people typically don't travel, right? Like, but this is a place where we misuse that kind of language, and no one's, like, the good work that happens in the community, it falls on the shoulders of a few people, and everybody else just acts like somebody else is going to take care of it. And that, really has to stop. We are a passive progressive place, and we need to start like really looking in the mirror what that means and what that looks like. I love seeing the community organizers that I get to see regularly. I'm seeing some of them on this call, but I'm tired of it, like, knowing that we are the ones that do all of the work, right? Like, there is more work for more people, and it doesn't necessarily mean making your own thing. It may mean like collaborating or supporting something that already exists or helping it expand. And Portland really needs to start like sort of really looking at our behavior and the way that we operate. And it's not an easy thing to do or an easy self-reflection. But this is a place where gentrification has been perfected, and this is a place where urban development is studied and shared from. And so this is a place where programs like EGC, programs like Feed the Mass, programs, like fund the new Black Fund Farmers program. Like, these are things, this is work that needs to get funded and supported, and people really get behind, because if this is a place where gentrification has been perfected and urban development is coming out of, like, the study of it, and using this as a place for sustainable practices. And this also needs to be a place where our work is also being spotlighted, and people are learning from us the solutions to actually take care of the community. And so we need people to start showing up in non-performative ways, and to be really honest about, is my contribution, is it real or is it performative?
Yeah, love that. Thank you for that answer, and going into that. I learned a lot. Lesia, am I pronouncing that right, has asked a question in the chat, or how do you find people to connect with your services?
So when we started, we did a couple things. We worked with culture specific organizations like the Urban League, SEI, NAYA, Black Parent Initiative, Black Home, Black Birth Initiative, etc. We worked with a bunch of different programs to connect and identify families that could use this service. And that really did help people to trust in like what we were rolling out. We also have our outreach team that work directly with doing like community outreach. We pass out flyers. We went to community events. We went to a bunch of protests to talk to people and let them know. And we circulated a form on that's on our website, but out to the community. We also popped on some local and national radio spots to talk about what we were rolling out. So that's how we connected with people. As we've grown, people have just come like found us through our site and different, community partners. Right now, we are taking people on as a waiting list for when we get more funding and can roll out more support. I'm hoping that happens in the next 2 or 3 months. Portland is definitely seeing fatigue around, I'd say, activism and resource sharing, but it's probably because Portland struggles to do 2 things at once and Portland has no accountability. The resources are still overwhelmingly here. It's just a matter of people being used to like having to show up. But we're still like, hopefully we will be rolling out new programming and, people can find us like just by getting on our website. We have a page that says participate. And we have a bunch of different forums and people can connect with that. And, we have a lot of people that manage emails and we do get back to people depending on like the outreach. I think they really respond to people 2 to 3 times a week. So it just depends on what you're connecting with about. But we are actively hoping to expand who we are serving and how we are helping impact the community in positive ways.
Awesome, thank you. So I want to be conscious of time. AJ, that was so informative. And again, if you have more questions or want to get involved, I've posted their website in the chat, as well as another one about the gift boxes. But we are going to now hear from Happiness Family Farm, which works with AJ at Equitable Giving Circle, and they provide some of the produce. So we have Japhety here, who is going to share a little bit more about Happiness Family Farm, its origins, what they're doing now, and we'll open it up for questions as well.
Hey guys, so Happiness Family Farm started about 4 years ago, and it kind of like all started like just kind of like where we came from. So our family was born and raised in East Africa and Tanzania. We kind of like, they grew up farming there because that was one of the best way that they were just like financially stable, and farming really just like brought the community together, and farming was just something they grew up doing and loving to do. And when we came here in the US, one thing we realized is like we like obviously there was a lot of food that we weren't accustomed to. So we had to do a lot of changing, and just like in terms of like eating things that we weren't used to, we had to find different ways to work around the things that were here, because a lot of the stuff that we grew up cooking, eating and stuff, we really didn't know where to find and stuff. And we realized too, like a lot of the African communities here, and not just African community, but even like other people in other places, they're kind of going through the same thing. So my parents kind of they started the farm with just like, they were just kind of doing it for fun because somebody gave us a plot at a community garden, and they wanted to just like kind of farm just so we can have the food, so we can have access to the food and stuff, and just like buy food instead of going and spend a lot of our money for there. And then we ended up getting a lot of support from our community, just saying that they also wanted to buy from us, help us out, and a lot of the stuff that we were growing that they were willing to buy and stuff. So we kind of like grew it into a business. We kind of started off just going off at the place was called New Columbia Farmers Market, but it's not there anymore, but that's where we first started. And then we moved to St. John's and stuff. And then, and then we were just kind of going to the farmers markets, but we wasn't really that big until I feel like definitely last year we had our biggest year, just because like with me really going deep in the marketing side, we was able to connect with a lot of people in the community. We was able to see a lot of people that were supporting us and stuff. And like AJ's team, they also helped us like just spreading that awareness, because I feel like that's one thing we was lacking, is like people just didn't know we existed. But once people are like started to know that we're here, we got a lot of like community support. And basically our mission is to bring happiness to our community by celebrating our Burundian culture and providing fresh and organic family grown produce. That's what we're really just trying to do, is we're just trying to help out especially people of color, the people that feel like they're living in a place where they can't really get access to the stuff that they grew up eating, and also just like educate a lot of people as well, and practice eating healthy, eating food that's grown locally, instead of like, that been in a truck for five days and then you go to a market and you buy it and stuff. And really just like, basically that's what we're really just trying to do.
So Japhety, what is your role on the farm, if I can ask?
Yeah. So basically, I used to just kind of go help my mom and just help her out with like, whether that be harvesting, planting, growing, and all that stuff. And then since last year, I kind of like, when it was my first year in college, and I was in there for marketing, and I really wanted to like help my parents grow, because like I feel like what they were doing was really powerful, but it was like I said, there just wasn't enough people that knew about us, and that kind of like was was hurting us, because like we wasn't able to get the funds that we needed to be able to continue going and stuff. So I got into marketing, really just learned about marketing and learned about how it can help really spread our awareness. And that's what I really just do now. Is like I really work on the marketing side of Happiness Family Farm, and also do like a lot of the outreach, whether that's like partnering with people, partnering with groups that want to help us, support us and stuff. Because my parents, they don't speak the best English, so I do like a lot of the translating for them. Kind of like if there's an opportunity for us, I kind of like walk them through that stuff, and then also apply to grants that that we can possibly use and stuff like that. So I try to do a lot of like the back end of the garden and stuff. My parents usually like are like the hands-on workers, but also definitely I'm at the farm a lot as well, helping them out. And then also my brothers and siblings also pitch in and kick in. So it's like the whole business is really right now, it's like a family business, but we're trying to expand it hopefully in the future to like get a couple people to come out to a farm to help, especially my mom when there's not a lot of people there. But yeah.
Yeah, truly a family farm.
Yeah.
So you also do CSA program, is that
Yeah,
available this March, or is that continuing this year?
Yeah, we're definitely going to continue doing CSA. This was the first year launching it, and we've seen a lot of great feedback from the community as well. It was so we're definitely going to do CSAs. We have it on a website, but we're still trying to fix our website up. We haven't finished it all up. So once we get closer to really opening it up, I'm gonna definitely try to fix it up. But it's there, and I think you can sign up, but like when people are signing up, like I'm not able to receive like the email of like the people that have signed up so far. So I'm trying to get that fixed up. But we're definitely doing CSAs for this year, and because that really helped us really bring in like a lot of the revenues, and was a big factor for us, and we're really hoping that we can be able to continue it.
Absolutely. Sue has asked, for any of you, is getting enough land a problem? So is that a problem for you, Japhety?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's always something we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out how we can get more land, expand. And then also at the same time, it's like we also are trying to figure out how to incorporate more people to come work for us, because like we also don't want to expand too fast where we don't have people to really come out and help our business really like, scale up to our next level. So we're definitely looking into more land. I think that's definitely a tricky thing, especially just being a person of color. It's like, that's not the most accessible thing that we can really get and really find. So yeah, that's definitely been a challenge.
So Lesia, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, has asked again, where is your farm now and how much land, and have you checked into the EMSWCD farmland program? I'm not sure what that is. Headwaters Farm Incubator Program.
No, I haven't actually, but that is a good resources for me to go look into. But right now we have about 3.5 acres. We have one at Sauvie Island. We have another one in Vancouver, and then we also have another plot in also at Sauvie Island, but it's like a little farther away from where we do our main operation. And so that's where we was at. We used to have another place that was closer to our place, but it got shot down because they ended up using it to rebuild houses or building houses at the place we used to farm. So that is basically most where we are. The only downside with that is like the traveling is really what's hurting us, because we had to travel a lot just back and forth, and it feels like we're wasting a lot of the gas, and also just like hurting the environment more and just traveling. But so we wish we can have one place that we can just like, one destination, and we have enough land to be able to work with. But right now, since it's like, it's really hard to really get land, it's like we have to just take what we can get and just try to make the best out of it.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is you'd like it if the Vancouver land and the Sauvie Island land were in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does anyone else have a question for Japhety? We've got another. Lesia said, I wonder if Metro could ever open this space that used to be the landfill as garden space. Do you want to expand on that, Lesia, over video or no?
I guess I didn't know that I wasn't muted. Oops. Well, the St. John's landfill that got covered over many years ago, and Metro owns it, but most Metro properties are natural spaces, and I know that they put a lot of seeds and prairie flowers and stuff out there. But I just wonder if this is something that, as AJ, no, what's her name? Yeah, AJ was talking about, is like getting Metro involved in some of these more community issues as well. So that was just kind of something for everybody. But as far as the Headwaters program, yeah, because it's out like on the other side of Gresham, at least the area I know of. But East Multnomah, the actual organization is right there on William Street. So at least talking to them would be a good idea. So thanks. Looks like you're doing great stuff though.
Thank you. Thank you for the resource. I'll definitely research. And
by the way, it's Lisa.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Lisa. And that's, yeah, thank you for providing those resources. Is there any other questions for Japhety or anything else you'd like to share, Japhety? I know that the CSA program is a great way to receive your produce and support the farm. Are there other ways that
just to help? Yeah, I feel like definitely donation, like what Ed just said, donation is always a big factor. And also volunteers. Like I said, we don't really have any employees there, so having people to go out there and just help out for a day, and if they can't make it, like just spreading awareness out to like a friend, a family, or a friend, and trying to have them out there and come out, because like since last year, since we have volunteers over there, it's like that also really helped us really get to know our community better and have them get to know us more. So far, everybody that been there, they enjoyed the experience, and they went out, referred us to somebody else, or they came out to a farmer's market and helped us out. And yeah, we're really about this community. We really want to support and help them. And the more that we're able to get their help and their feedback, the better. Like I said, there's like so much big organizations that are here in Portland that when you buy from them, you support them. You're not like really helping this community out. You're just making them more rich. And it's like the money is just not staying here locally, but instead it's just going away. And they don't really need people here to really buy from them. But like a lot of the small businesses here, it's like we depend on the community support. We depend on them to really help us out, because without them, it's like we're not gonna be able to continue to do what we do. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, just like continue to get this community support, whether that's just volunteers, whether that's money, or whether that's just like really just like telling people about what the community, what these small businesses are doing.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think volunteering, and kind of especially that you're offering people volunteering on the land, is I think a really cool opportunity, and I'm sure people could learn a lot and feel connected to their community and your community as well. And I think organizations like Portland Fruit Tree Project and others on here can definitely be of service by spreading. I mean, this is part of this call, is just being aware of what organizations are doing so that it comes up in conversation, it comes up on social media. We're just continuing to share our knowledge of what other places,
Yeah, I feel like definitely
are doing.
collaboration is definitely key. I feel like definitely if the people here that kind of have the same values, kind of mission, if they continue to work with each other, continue to support each other, I think it's really going to help everybody out in the future. But yeah, and also just like with volunteers, like we're really trying to educate people about like not just them, what they buy, but also like how it's affecting their bodies. And because we care about people's wealth, and whether that's mentally or physically. So when they come into our farm, they're not just helping us out, but they're also getting educated. And most of them like have small gardens at their house too. So we try to teach them better ways to grow, things they should and shouldn't do and stuff like that.
Yeah, and kind of on that note, Lisa has asked, how do you get the seeds and starts of your traditional foods?
Most of them, it's like we get them from family members that are back in Africa. They will send us like this, the startup, I mean, not the startup, but the seeds from here. And then and if we can from there, we will just have to look up and see if there's anything here, but we try to get most of them usually from Africa. My parents would like go buy them from Africa, and somehow, some way, they will be here. I don't know how the really process of that really works, but so I can't really go in depth in there.
Incredible. Yeah, Lisa suggested, can Portland Fruit Tree Project set up a work day at your farm like we do with our harvest? I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
People who volunteer for Portland Fruit Tree Project have a love of, fruit and produce, so something that they like spending their time doing. So we have a good network for that. Thanks again. I again learned a lot, and I'm really grateful to have you here sharing with us today, Japhety. And we will go on to our next presenter, Valentine. If you're ready, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Thank you, Madeline. This is a privilege to talk to everybody. I really appreciate you guys. So Feed the Mass, we've been around for 5 years. We just turned 5 years old last month. Over the last year, we pivoted from doing food cooking classes that really focus on eating healthier and learning how to cook from scratch, to an actual food program that actually feeds people for free. Over the last year, we started off with doing 3 meals a week, about 200 to 300 meals, and now we're about close to 6,000 to 7,000 meals a week, going about 6 to 7 days a week. We have a food truck program that we're starting that is going to be mobile food that is going to be cooked in the food truck and be able to take to different places, either homeless camps or low-income housing areas, and provide food at their location. We also have a location on 50th and Division at the Breathe building that we currently do about 200 meals every Monday, Wednesday, Friday that people can walk up to our kitchen and we hand it out through the window. We used to be at the Red, and a lot of the people that used to pick up at the Red now have gone to the 50th and actually helped bring food back to that area. We also are in the process of also trying to find our own home. Right now, the space that we have is about 1,000 square feet, and we need about 4 times as much square feet. The hard part is because we do a lot of our meals for free, that also means our budget isn't as big as we want. So grants is kind of our big thing that we're trying to go for this year. And we have an entire team that is dedicated to actually finding more grants and fundraising and everything like that. So it's been a journey. We've actually, as a business standpoint, we've actually grown almost 10 times what we've been doing in the last like 5 years. And on top of that, we are also really trying to focus on how do we prevent food waste. And we started a food rescue program. That's actually how our entire Fed program has started, where we go and find food that would either be wasted or be thrown in dumpsters because it expires in a couple days. And we rescue it from stores, restaurants, farms, and we take that food and we turn into meals because we can actually go and take about 1,000 pounds worth of food and process it in 2 days and make about close to 500 to 600 meals out of that. On a regular basis, we also partner with the Oregon Food Bank. We just became a partner. It was a special way we got it, but we're now part of their Feeding America program, where we're actually going to Amazon, which is one of our biggest food rescue places. And we actually go twice a week and pick up about close to 5,000 pounds a week in food that would have been gone into dumpsters. All of the meals that we make are from scratch. There probably hasn't been a meal that has been replicated the same way because we have to do everything from whatever we get in. So we get a lot of potatoes, we have a lot of baked potatoes, or we have a lot of potato soup. We get a lot of milk, we make kind of that kind of situation. We are very conscious about like the meals and the health concerns behind having like a high fat diet or having a high protein diet. And we do actually make meals that are specific for vegan and vegetarian. So that's really been a really big focus. But on top of that, we're really have a really good system when it comes to volunteers. Right now, our volunteer pool is about 1,500 and it grows about close to 10 to 15 people per week. And we are actually in the process of actually getting another partner group who does food economics, and they're actually going to be helping us on the admin side to actually get more people to help the volunteer not really problem, but the fact there's a lot of people who want to volunteer, but there's no real direction for them, or there's no system in place. That's kind of like what we're really like blessed with, is there's a lot of volunteers, and we actually have a system that is actually in place. But now we actually have to have a team to manage all the volunteers, and that's really that's kind of like the catch-22, finding volunteers to manage the volunteers. Our main mission, of course, is empowering people through food and teaching people. When I first started wanting to do the whole feeding program, it was a response to the fact that I lost my job. I couldn't teach cooking classes. I didn't have money to do an online class. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And I was like, well, the only thing I knew how to do was feed people. And it literally turned into a lot of finding out there's a huge amount of waste that is in Portland, especially when it comes to restaurants due to COVID. There's also a lot of food waste that's coming to stores because people are becoming unemployed, or they can't go into grocery stores and buy as much as they used to. But with the capitalistic society we live in, stores continue to fill their shelves because that's how they operate. There's no system in place to really prevent that, because we continue to want that and expect that in our stores. But on top of that, one of the biggest problems that we have is the idea behind a food mirage. It's not really a food desert. Portland has a lot of stores, a lot of grocery stores everywhere. And we call it a food mirage because there's all this food all around us, but we can't afford to buy it. So when you think about New Seasons, when you think about Whole Foods, when you think about Fred Meyer's is probably one of the cheaper ones, but still for a lot of people, they can't even afford that. So we try to really focus on educating people about that and also try to create actual systemic change. But if we are going to be living in a society that isn't going to change immediately, how do we create solutions that where if they do have a bunch of extra product because of their operations, that we take that product and we actually turn it into food for those who can afford it. So this food insecurity goes a lot further than just the houses community. We also focus on the community that is who have houses but they can't afford food. And it's becoming, and the gap of that, where you're at that point where you have to choose between rent and food, keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I don't think until we actually get to a point where everyone's either vaccinated or the coronavirus somehow miraculously disappears, until that time, we're going to be in that space for a long time. So upon that, there's also another situation where we're actually starting back food education. We're investing some of the donations that we were getting and actually continuing our food education through videos, private events, and online cooking classes, where we're actually having cooking classes that are live. This is super important because we want to continue that education. And I know and the one thing that we took away from doing our FED program was there's a lot of chefs who've never actually given back to the community. And when a lot of the chefs, shut down, they didn't really know what to do. They're used to working 60 hours a week, and then they can barely even work, 8 a week. And we invited a bunch of chefs to come in and work in our kitchen, and that was one of the best experiences for a lot of them. And it really changed a lot of people's hearts when it came to that. So we decided that we wanted to sit there and say, well, why don't we start making videos about these chefs, specifically BIPOC chefs, and having these chefs actually be, lifted up and give them an opportunity to teach. That's super important. So that's what we kind of got going on. I know there was a lot, but thank you guys.
Thanks so much. Lisa has asked already, have you tapped into the Gleaners warehouse system in Vancouver?
We have not, mainly because we are trying to keep a lot of the food gleaning mostly in Portland, because that is kind of like our big problem area is Portland. Plus with the amount of food that we get from Amazon, and now that we can start ordering from Oregon Food Bank, we're actually trying to really focus on getting high quality ingredients versus just whatever ingredients we can get. Now that we can actually dictate what kind of ingredients we can get and the quality of ingredients, now we're trying to make it super healthy, super focused for cultural benefits and also actual physical benefits as well.
So it's interesting you posted the website. I had a very hard time locating your website on Google. Is that something you've come across before?
No, usually people type in Feed the Mass. It's like the first thing.
Weird. Okay.
It's okay. I'm here for you.
But that's great. So we can learn more there. Did anyone else have other questions before I?
Where is the best place? So the best place that you can find our cooking classes is going to be on our website. Like I said, we're going to be starting that starting next month. We're doing actually our first trial run on online cooking classes with Oregon Food Bank at the end of this month. And they're promoting it on their side with their families. But if it's a major success, which I think it's going to be, Oregon Food Bank is going to actually help us be able to provide free food boxes for families to do the online cooking classes with us. So it's actually a really amazing opportunity to partner with Oregon Food Bank in that respect.
I love that. It's like free HelloFresh.
Yeah.
Right? And local. So I had a question. Okay, Heather has another question. If PFTP can, yes, okay, you guys are already talking. Okay, so my question was also like, and maybe maybe you're already working on this, Heather, but are we of service to you with our produce, like the fruit that we have? Is there a way that we can, and have we already donated?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
So
sent fruit over a few times.
yeah,
You
yeah.
also got a ton of zucchini from my other gleaning project. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you're good. There's actually a time where we're like, I don't think I can eat another zucchini today. But no, it's totally
You
fine.
and me both.
So yeah, I mean, the biggest needs that we need, of course, is space. We know that like it's not going to be a solo operation. Partnership is super important. Collaboration is super important. And I'm pretty sure everyone who's worked in a nonprofit or worked in mutual aid understand partnerships can actually make and break a nonprofit. I think with us, we really want to focus on creating those partnerships. So we're not making, when we want to up our ante to 2,000 meals a day, we don't want to have to make it all from one kitchen. We want to be able to create partnerships with other restaurants. Restaurants are going to be starting up in a little bit, but what would be great would be if we can actually create an incentive for restaurants to actually do something for their community. So the more things they do for the community, they get better exposure. It helps their chefs actually be a part of the community, and on top of that, it makes it so that we're not just funneling everything through one single stream. It actually makes multiple streams, which is a network of food that should be given to the community. And for a lot of restaurants, it actually makes a lot more sense for them to utilize their waste and give it to people in need versus throwing in their compost bin.
100%, yeah.
So sorry, I guess I didn't really answer your question. So yes, any food that you guys can give back, that would be amazing. Another thing I would also say is we need admin help. Like I said, we have a lot of volunteers, we have a lot of distribution points, and we need people who are willing to help pick up those reins, because we want to be able to help more people, and we see that there is a giant influx, and kind of like what Adria said, there is a wait list for a lot of the services that we want to do. And a lot of the reason why we have a wait list is because we don't have people to answer the phones. Well, not answer the phone, but answer the emails, and also deliver to those areas. Right now, we focus mostly in the Northeast, North Portland, Northwest, Southwest area, and Southeast. But there is an entire East County of 205 that isn't being serviced. It doesn't have a Fed program, and we really want to start being able to expand over there. But we also need people to step up in those leadership roles and go out there, make those introductions, see what the need is, and really kind of make a purposeful team to be able to help those people.
Yeah, I have some questions, but there's some questions in the chat as well. I don't know if you saw them, Valentine.
Do you connect with local farmers like Guesto, Rosie's? I know Guesto is closing for the season today and an extra produce left over. No, that's a really very helpful tip. So one of our goals for this year is to be able to raise money to actually help BIPOC farms by buying a percentage of their land to really grow specific foods for our program. It's a way for us to make sure that those farms have a revenue stream, but also for those farms to be able to help out there, for those farms to help us out by really being specific on nutritionally dense foods, so that whenever we do give free meals, it is as healthy and nutrient value as possible. Oh wow. This is something PFTP is working on as well. So curious about what our friends here are doing. We all know that emergency food is a short-term solution. What, if anything, is everyone doing a systemic level beyond and additional to education? So I don't think that, emergency food is not a short-term issue. Food scarcity has been before COVID, and it will be after COVID. I think how we are different from a lot of organizations is we're a proactive approach to things. So we're really trying to focus on how do we make sure that whatever we're doing can pivot to an emergency at any time. And a really good example was 9/11 this last year when the wildfires started. We just moved into our building and we got phone calls about the fires and that there's no food and everybody's getting cut off. And we literally put the bat signal up to our community through social media, through emails. And within 48 hours, we got about close to 6,000 meals delivered to Southern Oregon for the fire department. We also raised about $30,000 for families that are being affected by wildfires in the community. And we're also fed families that are affected in our community as well when it came to wildfires, such as David Douglas School District. They closed, didn't even tell their parents, and their kids who depend on those food programs didn't have any food. And the next day they had food. So that's kind of like the really big thing that I wanted to kind of focus on. And then I guess thank you for all the work you're doing. Perfect. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Long ago when I ran a program for people with mental illness, there was a program called Food Train. We could buy anything they had for 10 cents a pound. It was food from restaurants and stores. Is it still around? No, but I love that idea. I might steal it from you. I'm sorry, Sue.
Yeah, that is a great idea.
It wasn't my idea. It was really great. It was on Powell and 35th or something. And I didn't think it was. I hadn't heard of it for years, but.
Yeah, last year we had a open pantry that a lot of people were able to come in and pick up any excess food that we had. And it was very helpful for a lot of families because they were just in a situation where they couldn't, they love the food that they were getting, but they also wanted to be able to take something home that they can cook themselves. So, and we just gave it away for free. So I think we're going to be doing it again this spring because of the weather and everything like that. Once it starts drying out and it's a little bit warmer, I'm pretty sure foot traffic is going to increase, and that could be something that we can do.
Food Train was actually for agencies that fed people, nonprofits who fed people to come get it for our lunches, for example.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't for individuals, but whatever.
I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. It just seems like it was a good central place that, we who had very small budgets could get supplies. I'll admit some of it was really, not the food that you want to share particularly. Lots of desserts came from a certain grocery store chain. But, it was still, some of it was really good. Got some wonderful soups from restaurants.
For sure.
That's a great idea. I love that. And, what I've heard from you and from AJ respectively is sort of the ability to move where the people are and to, deliver directly this food rather than kind of having them come to a spot. And I think that's challenging, and it sounds like you're taking that on. And I thank you so much for being here and sharing, and we'll definitely spread the word and keep in mind that y'all need help. I know one of my ideas is, I'm getting my master's in social work at PSU, and I'm started volunteering with Heather and Portland Fruit Tree Project over the summer, and it turned into using this as my field placement. And my ideas is like, for all these organizations coming up that don't already have a relationship with PSU, like PSU students need placements and they're struggling to find placements for them. And hunger is totally social justice and social work. And I definitely want to bring it about to my fellow students that, if you're looking for a place to work, there are plenty of places that need help. And it's free labor. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. And if anyone else has questions for Valentine, he has posted his email in the chat there, jvalentine@feedthemass.com. And I'll let y'all go. Have a great night. Stay warm, stay safe, and once again, just a big thank you for everyone who was here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I'll see
all
you
I learned tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sue.
Bye.